Everyone. My name is Thomas Miller, and I am a Korean American student here at Columbia Theological Seminary. I'm in my second year of the dual degree program. I personally believe that Jesus Christ came to minister to those on the margins, and that as Christians, we are called to do the same. That is why I am here standing with my international brothers and sisters in solidarity, because I believe that their experiences and their voices should be heard and valued. You may be wondering, who is CISA? The Coalition of International Students and Allies at Columbia Theological Seminary is a large group of immigrant students and allies demanding institutional commitment and culture that promotes intentional equity, diversity, and inclusion of students through policy changes that address the needs and prevents discrimination against students from international contexts. The coalition was formed in response to the dismantling of the Office of International Programs. We have since created an online petition that explains our current situation and context, which you can find here. Currently, our petition has collected over 600 signatures in the last 48 hours, showing an immense level of support from the global church. And for that, we are grateful. Please continue to share our message by using the hashtag #decolonizedseminaries. Immigrant students here at Columbia Theological Seminary are one of the largest minority groups. CTS proudly boasts on its website and marketing materials that CTS represents 16 countries and that 50% of the 300 plus students are persons of color. Immigrant students, both domestic and international, make up one of the largest minority populations at Columbia. And as a part of that, students of Korean descent are the largest immigrant group at Columbia. And now I would like to invite my colleague, Garam Han, to speak.
Go Garam!
Woo! Hello, my name is Garam Han, and I'm a Korean international student in the THM program. We represent the future leaders of the global church as Christianity is on the rise outside of North America. According to an Association of Theological Schools report from 2012, the racial ethnic student population has grown more than 55% in seminaries, while in stark contrast, white student enrollment for the same period declined by 18.7%. Countless articles since that time have covered the continuing decline of North American seminaries and how many schools actively solicit domestic and international immigrant students to help keep their schools open. How CTS treats their immigrant and international students will leave a lasting mark on their legacy as the global church continues to grow more multi-racial and multi-ethnic and less white, European, North American. Not having the Department of International Programs means less resources for international students. Some students seem to believe that the decision made by President Van Dyke will make hardly a difference to international students. It is self-evident that a move from having a dedicated department with full-time staff to no dedicated department and work split up among staff in other departments focused on other work would be detrimental to the students. We are repeating our demands because we believe they are the best solutions to creating a long-term positive environment for immigrant students. The administration has refused to negotiate with us or provide a reasonable alternative, and we have every right to continue raising our demands before leadership. We propose the following solution to the administration. First, the reinstatement of the Office of International Programs. Second, that the director of the Office of International Programs be filled by an immigrant faculty member who is globally trained and empathetic to the interests of immigrant and international students. And third, sits at the decision-making table for the representative of the coalition of international students and allies when key decisions are made related to the Office of International Programs, or decisions impacting immigrant and or international students as a whole. Now, I would like to invite Trevor Jayarat.
Go, Trevor!
Good morning and welcome again to the press meet for the Coalition of International Students and Allies at Columbia Theological Seminary. We indeed thank you from the depths of our heart for standing with the marginalized, the voiceless, and the vulnerable immigrant students here at America. Thank you so much again. The issue started with the President's decision to dismantle the one department dedicated to serving and assisting immigrant students. It's not a fair representation to say somehow we are creating a problem equal to Columbia Theological Seminary. We are speaking out against a decision made without our input and which was not made with the students' best interests in mind. President Dr. Van Dyke's unilateral decision, her paternalistic and racially biased treatment of students' concerns, once we learned of her decision, and the critical importance of having culturally appropriate and culturally trained faculty leading a department dedicated to one of the largest student populations at Columbia Theological Seminary, is why we are continuing to speak out. We deserve advocacy and representation. We are not asking for much. The goal of Coalition of International Students and Allies is to demand respect, equity, and fair treatment for all immigrant students, particularly international students at Columbia Theological Seminary and also seminaries beyond. Despite the significance of our dollars enrollment and our labor, which all benefits Columbia Theological Seminary, President Dr. Van Dyke disbanded the one department focused exclusively on immigrant and international students without any input from the students that the department serves. Through the administration's recent decisions and purported strategic realignments, Columbia Theological Seminary administration has demonstrated that they do not care to support the immigrant and international community, nor the global church. We want Columbia Theological Seminary's internationally focused mission statement and values to align with their actual treatment of immigrant students. We object to Columbia Theological Seminary's pandering to Korean and other immigrant students for our dollars and enrollment while treating us, both students and faculty, as third-class citizens. We want future immigrant and international students to feel welcomed, represented, and heard at Columbia Theological Seminary. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Hannah Injimuri, a final year MDiv student at CTS. Thank you, Hannah.
Go, Hannah!
Thanks, Trevor. I'm Hannah Injimuri from India, and I'm an MDiv final year student here. I want to say that we are not pretending to represent all CTS students. We have created a name for those students who support the reestablishment of the Office of International Programs, to be clear in our messaging that we are a large group of immigrant students and allies at school. We acknowledge that Columbia Theological Seminary's international student community is diverse, and we acknowledge that we are not univocal. Yet, it is to be noted that a significant majority of immigrant students and faculty at CTS want to reinstate the Office of International Programs and have it filled by an immigrant faculty member who is globally trained and empathetic to the interests of immigrants and international students. There will always be a space for disagreement when there is a broad and diverse group of students from across the globe. However, we believe having universal agreement is not possible nor required to bring attention to racially biased practices that are being called out by a large immigrant community and allies at Columbia. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Paulisa.
Thank you, everybody. I would like to say that discomfort by those in power and leadership are to be expected when they are challenged. We are not responsible for their emotional response and will not stop seeking justice to mollify personal feelings. It is uncomfortable for us to speak up to truth and power, but people in authority and power will feel uncomfortable because their actions are being questioned. And that is a necessary byproduct when we as a minority people fight for inclusion. American democracy is built on the courage and activism of disadvantaged minorities. Without that, we would fall into authoritarianism. We also lift up our own histories and ancestors who have resisted and spoke out against unfair practices and governments to liberate their country and the people. Just recently, we saw 1 million Koreans protesting out in the streets against the president, which led to hair removal. We can't forget our own histories and the courage of the few who fought for freedom, for all which we benefit from now.